Hello, Yuki Bandit. So we're going to be looking at common chord progressions today, and the reason why a few weeks ago I got asked if I knew any good ways of practicing chords together and getting better at changing them, and also learning songs is obviously what you do to start off with. But when you've got the words to think about, and you're trying to change chords and you're trying to put them in the right place, it can be quite difficult to get good at changing them. There's a lot of things to think about, so eliminating some of the extra things like learning the words and trying to get the right speed of the strumming and that, and just concentrating on the pure essence of the chords, the chord progression itself. So this workshop will definitely help with that, and the idea is it's giving you the most common chord progressions you're going to come across. If you practice in this way, you're preparing yourself for a lot of the possibilities in the chords changing. So what is a chord progression? Well, a chord progression is just a group of chords that put together in a set order, and that pattern might just loop round and it'll be used for the basis of a song. So for example, the chords that we normally learn on the ukulele are going to be the key of C chords, and that's because of the way the instrument is tuned. The key of C chords is the easiest chords to play on the ukulele, and they use a lot of these open string notes. So they're the chords you will play and learn to start with. And so if you look at the top line of every one of these groups, you can see there's C, A minor, F, G, we've got C, F, G here, and they're all versions of basically key of C chords, and they're put together in different orders. So these are little blocks which you can play as a group together, and that's a progression of chords. And the idea is they're the most common ones that you're going to come across. In other words, lots of songs have been made up using these progressions, these groups of chords in that particular order. And so getting used to playing the chords in an order that is already really well used is going to be a great place to start if you want to learn to play a lot of songs without the hassle of trying to get used to obviously singing all the words, trying to change at the right speed. And there's so much to think about when you're obviously just trying to get used to them. And obviously you can make up your own orders and play them in different ways, but it's just a good discipline to have kind of a kind of repertoire of progressions sound very musical. Even if you're just strumming and like looping these chord progressions around, they will sound like a song, and people will recognize it. Oh, I recognize that song, even if because it's so familiar and it's been used a lot. So if we look at the top, you see there's Roman numerals, and the reason for using the Roman numerals is because the chords have a number according to the order they occur in the scale or the key. And I've talked about scales and keys in other videos, so if you want to know more about that and this bit baffles you a little bit and you want to understand it, I just suggest going back to those videos. But in a nutshell, we have 7 notes in a scale: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and the idea is that each one of them gets assigned a number: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I go through that as chords, it'd be C major would be 1, D minor would be 2, E minor would be 3, F would be 4, G would be 5, A minor would be 6, 7 would be B diminished. We're not going to see that in here. It's not one that's used very often in common chord progressions. And the idea is that we're going to be only really using the first 6 chords in all these chord progressions: C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor. So the Roman numerals you'll see a lot of combinations between 1 and 6 being used, and most of them will be grouped into 4. You can see there's a couple that aren't, and I'll go through and explain some of these. I don't think it would be necessary to explain everyone in this video, because you can literally obviously just follow the sheet. And what I'll do is I will take my face off it at the end and just leave it there so you can pause and just read it. I got this from Google anyway. You can just look up common chord progressions on Google and get that sheet easily, or message me and I'll send you a copy, not a problem. But the main thing is, if we're looking at the first chord progression, the Roman numerals that we have there are 1, 4 and 5. Now you're probably asking, well, why don't you just name it 1, 4, 5? Why have we got to learn Roman numerals? Well, because a lot of chords, as you'll see in this one here, this is the jazzy one, the chord progression, 2, 5, 1 here. This one here, you can see it's got 7s on it. And if we've got chords with 6s and 7s and 4s, which you sometime will see written down, then having it labelled with a numbering system can be a little bit confusing and might be confused with the chords themselves. So just by having a Roman numeral system, we can clearly identify that it means the chord or the order of the chords that are occurring in the key. So here we go. For the first one, it's a 1 4 5, and you may have heard of that expression before. It's a musical term that's used a lot, and this system that we've got here is like a musical language. When people say, oh, I'm playing a 2-5-1 or a 1-4-5, they're referring to what we're doing here, and so it might give you a little bit more not only understanding, but you'll be able to kind of converse with other peoples in a similar way as well. So here we've got that one of the most common chord progressions. You're going to learn C, F and G in your first your journey to learning the ukulele. You'll more likely learn C, F, G as your first 3 chords. So that's the order that you want to learn first, which is the 1 4 5, and you literally just play a C chord to an F chord to a G chord, and you can just cycle that round, C, F and G. You can mix up the order of all these, but that's the order of a 1 4 5 chord progression. And it could be played like this. So we've got four beats on C, then 4 beats on F, then a G, and we could do this because we want to have a nice 4 bars of each one here. You could do that for 2 bars on the G. Now I'm doing a rhythm, I'm just doing the island strum. You can easily do this with just down strums. If you're right at the beginning, you're trying to get good, just 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3. Just try and connect them. And then you go back round again, and so you're just learning to play that in that order. Look at the next chord progression. This is a 1 6 4 5, and the idea is that's the order of the chords that occur in the key, and the chords are C, A minor, F and G. So learn to play C, A minor, F and G, 4 strums on each. Obviously, if you feel that's quite easy and you're pretty good at strumming, add any strum you want. You can finger pick, you can use any of the like the island strum or any other strums that you feel will make it sound more interesting. But just the basic strums to start with will sound like this. And then it will go back round again. Obviously this is what it sounds like with a more of a fancy rhythm. So there you go. So that's C, A minor, F and G. You can hear it sounds like a song, and you could just like burst into a song at any moment. And there's a lot of songs that were written with that chord progression. Obviously, when we look at the next one, that's a little bit more problematic because these are chords like G7 would be all right. That's quite a common one. C major 7, not so much, and D minor 7. But I have got, and I'm going to just find it now here, major 7. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the screen for this one. This one, a 2-5-1, is really common in, so this is your D minor 7 chord. And so you need a chord sheet in front of you for this one, specifically if you're not familiar to these chords. The C major 7 is really easy. That's this one here. So the D major 7 is, so you've got your D minor, and your little finger will be placed on the 3rd fret on the first string. This is the one I'm highlighting here. And if you were going to play a G7, I think we should know it's the backward G, so you should know that one. And the C major 7 is this one here, which is just one back from a C chord. With this one, so that's just what the chords are. You can easily look those chords up. I can send that sheet out, or just pause the video and learn those shapes. This one is used a lot in jazz, so especially traditional jazz. So it's the 2-5-1 chord progression. It's D minor, G, and C. But in jazz, you hear a lot of what we call extended chords, where we add a few extra notes that make it sound just a bit more smoother, a bit more nicer to listen to. So especially for the chord changes when they go between the chords. So a D minor 7 sounding like this. to a G7, you see that the chords, they just seem to smoothly go into each other, and it's to do with these extra notes and where they're located. We don't need to understand jazz or anything. It's just, if you like jazz and you like that style and you like that that smoothness, then this is a lovely one to learn, a really nice one. And really, you'll learn in a D minor. That's the next chord. So after A minor, you've got a D minor chord, and by adding your little finger there, so you could play this as D minor, G and C, by the way. 251 is D minor, G and C, but the reason why this is one's written down is because 251 is popular in jazz and they use these particular type of chords. But if you were going to learn it and you didn't feel comfortable learning like these extended ones or these extra notes, you literally just do a D minor, then a G, then a C. Yeah, but I think it's really, they're not that difficult to learn. D minor 7's not that bad, and then G7 is actually one you learn at the beginning anyway. So it's just a backwards G shape. You've got your G and then you turn it backwards, and if you just take off the first and second finger, you got your C major 7, which is a lovely sounding chord, and it is just one finger back from a C. So that is really a doddle anyway. So that particular one, the only reason it's problematic is because we're using like chord names that are a little bit longer than the normal D minor, G and C. But that is, in essence, 2, 5 and 1. And if we had the jazz sounding chords, it's really nice sounding, really smooth. And you just literally 4 on each as well. And I just played an extra 4 on a C major 7 there, just to round off the bar. And so that's a really nice one to practice. And you might have a particular favourite genre of music, and in every one of these chord progressions they do tend to fit different genres or be more popular in other genres. Now, we're not going to go through every one of these because I can literally take my mug off the screen and I could just let it hang there for a bit, and you can pause the video and just have a go at them as you go along and to see what works for you. But as long as you know the key chords of C, D minor, E minor, F, G and A minor, you'll be able to play all these chord progressions on the top line. Obviously with the exception of learning the extended ones for this jazzy one here. The next one we've got is a 1, 6, 2, 5, and it's C, A minor, D minor, G. That sounds like this. I'll just do 4 strums. So that's a nice sounding chord progression, and what you'll notice is the combinations of majors and minors. So that one has a major at either end and a minor in the middle. Now the minors have a sadder sound, and the majors have a happier, more uplifting sound. So for a lot of our happy, like our reggae tunes for example, you'll see a lot of these 1, 4, 5 chords being put together. But the combination of using major and minor just changes the sound of the song. So if it's a ballad, having a nice mixture of major and minor, so you got those ups and downs, is quite a nice thing. And if you want it uplifting, you'll use a lot more majors, and if you want it a little bit more sadder, you'll use a lot of minors. So it's kind of, you know, quite a popular thing really. So this one here is, I would say, the best one to learn out of all of them, and the reason for it, there's a video on YouTube called Axis of Awesome. If you look it up, Axis of Awesome, the 4 chord song. In fact, if you just put 4 chord songs, they're usually the top one that comes up, and they do this brilliant video where they demonstrate this chord progression being used. They actually do it in the key of D, so they do it, the guy plays up the piano at the beginning, and they actually go through over each chord progression as it goes back round again, sing another song, and they do like 80 songs, and there's everything you can think of there. There's from like Old Lang Syne, classical, The Lion King, Country Roads, Beatles, Bob Marley, U2, some modern, some old, and it just covers like so many different songs that use that one particular style of chord progression. Now obviously not every song will use these chord progressions, but these within every song you come across, the order of chords you have will in some way be reflected in these chord progressions. In other words, you might have C, G, A minor, F in this one here, which is a 1, 5, 6, 4, but you could easily go C, G, A minor, G, or C, G, F, A minor. You know, you can turn these around in slightly different orders. But the premise is this one here, C, G, A minor, F. This is what it sounds like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, G, A minor, F. Now a little bit more room. It's a lovely sounding chord progression, and you probably already think, oh, that sounds familiar, that sounds like a song, and that's because there's like hundreds that use that chord progression. So if you're going to start off learning and you're playing chords, and rather than trying to work your way through mountains of songs and trying to get your head around how many strums you do before you change the next chord and where the words occur and trying to sing it and trying to keep up with it and the right speed, which can be really quite difficult to start off with, especially when you've just got a few chords under your belt, then really learning to play these sequences at your comfortable speed with the strumming that you feel like most comfortable with, and then playing that order on rotation will get you very, very quickly familiar to, or your fingers very quickly familiar to the order of chords that's going to occur in a lot of songs. So then it makes it easier then to jump into that next step and say, right, let's I know this 4-chord song, for examples, used with Country Roads. I think I've got the hang of this now. Go to Country Roads. You'll find that a lot easier now because you've tackled the chords that occur in a song in the order that they're occurring in. Yeah, so I've got up to the 5th one. I think what I'm going to do, because I will play through, I'll get my mug off the screen and I will play through the 6, the 7, the 8 and the 9 at the bottom here, doing the strums on each, so you can look at the sheet, and then obviously you can mute me and pause and practice and have fun with the chord progressions. Obviously, if there's any questions about it or any more, if there's anything that has come up in this that you want me to kind of embellish a little bit more, do a bit more of, then I'll do a video on it at some point, explaining or going into a bit more detail. Okay, so I'll leave you with that, and let's play. Let me mute myself, or visually mute myself. There you go, I'm disappeared. And I'm going to do the 6th chord progression, which is C, F, A minor and G. I'll put my cursor around it so you can see. So we're going to play that one. I'll play it a couple of times around, and it should sound like this. Just the 4 strums. With the Hawaiian strum, so. And you can, of course, do that 2 bars of strumming before you change if you feel that it's a bit quick to change in, or you could do anything. You could do 2 strums on each chord. So yeah, play around with the amount of strums, play along with the strumming patterns, but specifically do it in that order. Okay, so we're down on the 7th one here, which is C, E minor, F and G. Here we go. I'll do the nice slow one now. There's E minor, F, just to have a little bit more interest, let me do that with like a little bit of a reggae rhythm. So you can literally muck around with, if you've done those rhythm styles, the rhythm styles video I did a few weeks ago, you can certainly implement those on each one of these chord progressions. Here we go, so we're on number 8 now. So I'm just circling it, and this one is, so like the top one, you can see you got C, F and G, so you got your 1, 4, 5 chords occurring, but they're occurring in a different order. So we're going from 1, 4, 1, 5. So like I said at the beginning, that's CFG. You can play that in lots of different orders because those songs literally do appear in loads of different orders. But this is another example of a good way of practicing that chord progression. And I'll do it with a simple strum, and then I'll have a bit more fun with it. So that was a little bit different. I did a bit of a quicker one there, 2 strums on each. But you can hear how they each time I did it, it sounded like another version or another song using the same chords. And the last one, this is a C, F, D minor, G. So as long as you know C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and maybe learn those sevenths as well that I showed you earlier, you'll be able to do everything on the top layer of all these chords. If you're more advanced than this, and of course you know the key of G, then all you do is apply the same method or same things we talked about, just with those particular chords. And this does work for other instruments, piano and guitar. So if you're one of my other students that play guitar or piano and you're seeing this, you can have a bit of fun and like try some of the other. And it's really good to get used to chords or playing keys that you're less familiar to expand your knowledge anyway. So last one, we're going to go C, F, D minor and G. So here it goes. Nice and slow to start with. Bit quicker. Maybe a little bit more reggae. I like the reggae. There you go. I like the reggae. It makes me feel happy. So you've got 9 different progressions that are really common, really popular, and it doesn't cover every song. There are other songs that use different orders, but it's certainly, if you can do these, any other progression or any other order wouldn't be that difficult, because there's so many different ways that you're combining the chords here that your fingers are going to be very quickly familiar to changing in lots of different ways. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I will sign out. So thank you very much. I will see you again soon. Obviously, if there's anything that you think I might have missed, or anything you want me to kind of explain or elaborate on, or anything that I can help you with, always comment and let me know, because it really helps me give me ideas for other videos that are going to help people, and I kind of know where people are at. So take care, and I will see you soon.